You know what? I'm getting sick and tired of it. Kindred society, too chaotic. In a world where the Camarilla has a new prince every week for whatever fucking city they're in, the Anarchs making do with their pretty lax set of laws and rules in the fact that a lot of times is non-existent, or in the Sabbat are quickly running through their supply of car bombs. What do we do? What do we have? We need someone to bring order and justice. And that would be the responsibility of Clan Banu Haqim. At least that's their, on paper, wants and goals. As Clan Banu Haqim is the clan of assassins, mercenaries, and by their nickname, the judges, as they see that they are the ones who are fit to judge kindred society, because no one else will. No one else can hold these uber powerful vampires to any form of justice or punishment for the shitty actions they get up to. Now, this also isn't just like a fancy name and a funny little title put on just a bunch of serial killers. No, they are an order of assassins. They have rules and things they follow. And a quick analogy I can make here is they're kind of like the Assassin's Order in Assassin's Creed. But if they were run competently, I'm not gonna sit here and rant about Assassin's Creed, but the main thing, at least members of the Banu Haqim will actually follow the fucking rules and follow the order and don't have a stupid motto that's meant to be like wrong. You shouldn't have a motto for your order, nothing is true, everything's permitted, where the point of the motto is that it's not true. Okay, I'm not, it's stupid. But anyways, Clan Banu Haqim are mercenaries for hire, assassins, and they disperse justice and murder. A lot of murder, they're very good at murder. And they do it for a high price. And these ideals stem back to their antediluvian way back in the day during the age of Cain in the first city, where their antediluvian, Haqim. Now there are conflicting stories on how Haqim turned into a vampire. Either he was a dope ass hunter and a really good warrior that traveled the land learning languages completely on his own, including the language of the dead, which impressed a lot of people, including one of Cain's children, which turned him and boom, now he's a vampire. And then the alternative is, this is one that's told by some members of the Banu Haqim, is that he was serving under a king and queen in the first city. They were pretty shitty and vampiric, to where he rose up, killed them, and drank their blood for some reason and became a vampire. So either he got turned or he got turned by choice. But Haqim served his role pretty well. His main role, defenses. He defended the city against a lot of people who tried to besiege Enoch. And oh boy, mainly because Enoch was very rich, very prosperous, and a lot of neighboring cities didn't have that luxury and really wanted a piece of the pie. But eventually, God sent the flood and Enoch was destroyed. Haqim straight up just left. He was not involved in the plot with the other antediluvians to kill their sires. He just kind of dipped. To where eventually he came back to the second city, which the second city is the city that the antediluvians set up after, Enoch was washed away. Haqim showed up and found a city full of bickering vampire politics, kindred just going wild on the populace, just doing whatever they want with the mortals, spawning so many children and who would then go on and also be shitty, having major god complex, politics started happening. Newer typical vampire stuff, the stuff you get up to in your chronicles was happening here. Haqim saw all this and thought it was cringe. He's like, this is fucking stupid. I don't want to be involved. I hate this. And that's his key defining point, neutrality. This man doesn't want to deal with it. He just wants to do his own thing, defend the city, be a warrior. It's all he cares about. And then all these people are trying to pull him into politics. To where eventually, it kind of got to a point where a giant civil war was going to happen, and the other antediluvians, hat in hand, came to him begging to enforce something. Because as they all saw it, they can't trust anyone else of their siblings. Everyone was vying for power, backstabbing constantly, except for Haqim. He's the only guy who's essentially a third party. So they begged him, please just give us something. To where he established the judges, which in his clan were then able to disperse justice to those acting kindred who were just really fucking around at being awful people. He was able to kill them, which imposed some really early law and order in the vampire world. And more importantly, this allowed him and the judges to protect the mortals of the city, which is actually a pretty big tenet and deal for the Banu Haqim. They really want to protect the mortals who can't really do anything to fight back. Again, this isn't to say they're great people, because they're still fucking vampires, so they're monsters, but it's something. Now, I'm not gonna sit here and regale you with the entire history of Clan Banu Haqim and everything about Haqim. The only thing that really matters with him is that eventually he went to torpor and is still asleep or dead. No one really knows. But what do you actually get if you play one of the Banu Haqim? Well, first up, your disciplines. You have access to your 3, which is going to be blood sorcery, which is kind of what it sounds like. It's blood sorcery. You can manipulate blood, largely your blood, and in some very cool cases, other people's blood, to the point where it seems like you're using straight up magic. It isn't really magic because that's a different system, and vampires cannot use that form of magic. You also get celerity, celerity being super speed, but in the idea of not just physical, also mental. You can think faster and move faster. And then obfuscate, vampiric stealth, where you can go invisible or really hide your own intentions. This is really set up to make them the perfect assassins. This is just in 5th edition. In the 20th anniversary edition, blood sorcery is replaced with quietus, which is essentially blood sorcery, but with your own special Banu Haqim stuff. Actually, my favorite, I'm a little sad some of these didn't carry over, because my absolute favorite spell is Dagon's Breath, which has the really fun power of drowning somebody in their own blood because you put their blood in their lungs, so they just quietly drown. Fucking terrifying, holy shit. And then your compulsion. In a situation where you make a bestial failure or your compulsion riles up, the Banu Haqim have the compulsion of judgment. If they see somebody breaking their personal convictions, the thing that they hold themselves to, what they declare that their beliefs in morality is, they see someone break that, they want to drink them very badly. It is a little rough because sometimes people doing this are vampires, where they really just want to sit and drink you dry for daring to break a law. So they can do this to vampires and commit the act of diablerie, which is drinking a vampire dry and taking their soul, which is a pretty big deal. It makes you powerful, but this is essentially kindred cannibalism, and it's very frowned upon. And yeah, their current clan bane is that of blood addiction, because once they start drinking that vampire blood, it's really hard to stop. They have to fight their beast inside of them to stop drinking a vampire. But also, I did say current. In older editions, their bane has changed. So way back in the day, like the Second City, they were fighting a group known as the Bali. The Bali are satanic vampires. They worship demons. And they actually are a thing. They're statted out. They're like a thing in 20th. They're fucking weird, I'm not gonna lie. As you can see, full unironic demon worshippers, so, you know. They put a curse on the warriors of Clan Banu Haqim to make them bloodthirsty. Now, I do mean this in the case of they're vampires. So this is literal bloodthirsty. So it was a little rough. So rough that thankfully they were neutral. They did their own thing. They lived in the mountains in the Middle East. But when eventually they made more contact with kindred society, especially during the Crusades and the Renaissance, like the 1500s, they got in contact with the Camarilla. The Camarilla didn't like this. So they conscripted Clan Tremere to curse them with a different curse. They gave them a curse that drinking kindred blood physically hurt them, to the point where they could take some serious damage by drinking vampire blood. Obviously they weren't a fucking fan of this, because this also sucked, which leads to a pretty big rivalry between Banu Haqim and Tremere. And then until recently, it has been lifted. The one who lifted it is actually the child of Haqim himself, Urshulgi, who is fucking terrifying. If this is his official art, like, Jesus Christ. So this guy, 4th generation vampire, he woke up from torpor, which, for those that don't know, I mean, torpor is a real thing. It's an actual, like, thing in our real world. But for vampires, this can be done in 2 ways. Either they get so wounded from blood loss or hunger that they just go into a essentially battery preserved state and go into a coma for their body to recover. Or an older vampire decides, you know what? I want to fast forward. This decade's boring. This century, snooze fest. Let me see what the 2000s look like. And they just go to sleep. Urshulgi woke up, saw this curse, and lifted it with his own blood sorcery. And now they have blood addiction, what I said earlier, because all of those years of not being able to taste kindred blood has really, really waned on them. And also with his awakening, he is so fucking important. I cannot stress this, because he's the cause of a giant schism in the clan. Now, when he woke up in like the 1900s, like 1990, he saw that a bunch of his clan members were religious now. In fact, a large chunk of them, around like half, were actually Muslim. Mainly because, like, obviously they're in the Middle East. A lot of them are from that population. When you get turned to a vampire, you don't give up those convictions. You can still be religious in a vampire. You know, it's a thing. He was upset only because they were worshiping someone else instead of Haqim. They were valuing someone else's ideals, someone else's morality, and not revering Haqim because false idol. So he was pretty fucking pissed about this. So he told all of the Islamic vampires in Banu Haqim to give up their faith or die. A lot of them chose the latter option and ran away, which actually, this is where the schism happens, because either you are a true Clan Banu Haqim, a loyalist to Ushogi, where you revere Haqim and his 5 laws, which gives some pretty wide things. Other than that, they practice more frowned upon blood sorcery, stuff that was outlawed when the clan was largely Islamic, and they also dabble in just a little bit of diablerie. Just a little bit as a treat. And then there's the schism ones, who largely, a lot of them are still religious. In fact, a lot of them went to the Middle East, like farther down, and actually joined up with the sect that is a bunch of Islamic vampires. I found this out. This is just fun. This is just a group. Shame that they're being harassed with a Camarilla now, because the beckoning has drawn everybody to the Middle East, but oh boy. And this is where your individual vampire comes in. The kindred you are playing. You get to make this decision. Both of these, like, depending on where you are in the schism, you can still be involved in so many other chronicles. Especially because, like, the Banu Haqim are still assassins. You can just fucking pay them. So is your kindred specifically involved with the Camarilla because you're getting paid to do so? Or your sire is being paid to send you along? Is this a monetary investment being made? Or are you just stuck in Camarilla or Anarch territory because you don't really have anywhere else to go? Your general clan kicked your sire, you, out of there. So now you gotta work with somebody. You can't be alone in this world. These knights are dangerous, so you gotta make some allegiances. But yeah, wraps it up. First vampire video. I will be making more. We'll see if I make like characters. I fully don't know what I'm gonna cover in World of Darkness, but I plan to cover as much as I want to, and as much as I think is interesting, which is most of this universe. But anyways, yeah, if you like this, like, comment, subscribe, that stuff, join my membership, and see ya.